Om Shanti Shambho Mahadev Shiva 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 Shiva. So in the last session we said about the gunas enjoyed by the Adityas, the Ashtavasus, initial part of it. That the Rigveda mantras to be done in the morning, the yajna being done in the morning, and the result of that being enjoyed or being absorbed by the Ashtavasus in the initial stages of life. And the Devatas who takes the grahana or graha of the results of the yajna through the virtues of that. It's not directly being taken, it has been explained there. So, he said that for it is not seen in the world that enjoyment is available for those who lack enthusiasm. This we have explained. People who are lacking enthusiasm will not attain the enjoyment. Available for those who lack enjoyment, who do not undertake actions and are lazy. This has been explained. Action and reaction has been explained. Laziness has been explained. Actions, those which are, actions, those which are necessary for execution of karmas being executed by the mind and indriyas in a dharmic way is called an action. Reaction is only based on emotions. They are only based on the indriyas. And the mana, of course, automatically mana comes because adhipati of the indriyas is the mana. He is the ruler. They are the mantris. So the reaction is done by that. Reaction is external. Action is internal. It has a great difference. Reaction is purely based on the external appearances. And the external appearances are not the truth. Here, whenever we say in Upanishad that which is not the truth and this is the truth is only Parabrahman. That's the only truth in the universe. Parabrahman is the only truth in the universe. Whatever connected actions that we undertake in order to attain the Parabrahman is known as the action, dharmic way of living. So that is what is called as truth. That which is external in the sense, as I always said that there is nothing external to Brahma, Chaitanya, Parabrahma Chaitanya. Everything is in Parabrahma Chaitanya. The whole universe is in Parabrahma Chaitanya. There is nothing. Lord Krishna opened his mouth. The whole universe could be seen by Mother Yashoda, including herself. In the sense, it explicitly explains that The whole thing is Parabrahman only. Whatever is happening, wherever, everything is Parabrahman only. So, everything is in the Parabrahma Chaitanya. Even though, so we cannot, but then what is internal and external? That's this internal, from where the internal and external has come. Internal is that the Jivatma who is trying to attain the Parabrahma Sakshatkaram and Parabrahman within the periphery of the Parabrahma Chaitanyam alone, even though he is within the periphery of the Parabrahma Chaitanyam, when the Jivatma is functioning for the purpose of that particular unit's enjoyment, getting attracted and attached to the Prakritik, that means the Prakriti, nature, or the Prakriti, that which is projected from the Purusha, which is known as Maya. When the Jivatma is attracted towards the Prakriti, to the Maya, and considers that as Purusha, and trying to attain the Maya, is known as adharmic way of living. That's called the external. The internal is that when he travels towards the root of the Jivatma, which is a Paramatma, when he travels towards the root of himself, he travels towards the Paramatma, towards the center of it, from where the nature or the Prakriti has been originated. One is getting entangled with the Chaitanya, even though it is in the Chaitanyam, in the Prakriti. Another is getting attached to the creator of the Prakriti, from where it begins. One is like, suppose there is a lamp burning. Sorry. The lamp is burning, the wick is burning. There is Prakasham, yes, Chaitanya. That's like Parabrahman and Parabrahma Chaitanya. Some similarity. I'm just an example. The insects during Deepavali and all that, they are all in the Chaitanya only. They are all in the periphery of the light, which is in the light. They are in the Chaitanya. That's the universe for them. That's the universe. They are all in that universe, functioning in that light, living in that light, dying in that light. Yes. Understood? But what happens is that they are all trying to live in the light, in the Prakasham of the light. It's not light. It's the Prakasha of the light. That means the projection of the light. The light is that reflection from the Paramatma. Reflection from the lamp, from the wick, from the flame. So the flame creates a light because there is darkness around. So the whole insect is only in the light of the flame, not in the flame. Everyone, because thinking that they are living in the Parabrahman, each insect acts according to its own life, its own source, its own Prakriti, its own habits, even though they are in the periphery of the Parabrahma Chaitanya, in the light only. So they have got only few hours of life. In that life itself, they are born, they are playing, they are eating, they are procreating, and they are again growing old, and they are dying in that. But what happens? None of them are trying to get attracted to the flame. They all would like to be only in the light of the flame. Got it? That is called, this is how the Jivatma functioning, this is called external, and this flame is called internal. The Prakasham of the flame is called external. Okay, something like that. So Jivatma, when it is functioning, even though in the Paramatma, in the Chaitanya of the Paramatma, he doesn't realize the Paramatma. he doesn't realize the Chaitanyam of the Paramatma also. The insect which is in the light, he doesn't recognize the flame nor the light. It just lives in the light, that's all. It doesn't go in the dark because it cannot see there. So it can only see this, so they are being there. They do not even know beyond this light there is another world which is dark for them. That even they do not know. They also do not know this light is coming from the flame. That they don't know. They would like to live in the light, that's all. The Jivatmas in us, all of us, live like that. Neither they are trying to go out of the Chaitanya. Naturally, one cannot go out of the Chaitanya, but for the sake of talking, neither they are trying to go out of the Chaitanya, nor they are trying to go to the middle of the Chaitanya from where the Chaitanya begins, or from where the light comes. They are not traveling towards that. They are only playing. Now you might say that, oh, some insects, they fall into the fire and die. They are not traveling towards the fire. They go there in the flame and they die, is it not? They are not intentionally going. No insect will go to the flame intentionally. By way of traveling, they fall into that and die. That's all. So it is not a traveling towards the flame. It cannot be called as traveling to. I am talking about the insects and the flame, not as the Jivatma. Jivatma doesn't accidentally go to Paramatma. It is not that. I am just saying that for the sake of clarification. I am saying that. So an intentional travel is necessary towards the flame, is what I am saying, is called the journey towards inner self of yourself. Otherwise, what happens? This process of not understanding the Parabrahman and not traveling towards the Parabrahman inside you is called self-denial. It's a self-denial. And by thinking that what happens by being in the Prakasham, where even though you are closer to the flame or little far away from the flame, this is only the difference that it makes for many people. But in this process what happens? They live only in the light of the flame, but no one tries to travel towards the flame. No one tries to travel towards the Parabrahman. The purpose of life has been created in that light. See, everything is created in that periphery of the Parabrahma Chaitanyam only, because the whole universe is only Parabrahma Chaitanyam. There is nothing other than Parabrahma, nothing including the planetary system and the whole universe, the number of universes, none of them are existing anywhere outside the Parabrahma Chaitanya, because everything is Parabrahma Chaitanya. So in that Chaitanyam only, everything is living, everything is existing. Now, by existing in the Chaitanyam alone doesn't help, because existence is in the Chaitanyam only, it cannot survive other than that. But it has been created. Each and everything has been created in the Chaitanyam in order to attain the Chaitanyam. Why are you created in the Chaitanyam? Why are you in the world? Why are you born in this world? In the Karma Loka, Karma Yuga and Karma Loka. In order to execute the karma and go to the Antaratma. Why are you in the Chaitanyam? That you are living in the Chaitanyam in order to attain the Brahman, Parabrahman, that's all. Not to live in the Chaitanyam alone, but living in the Chaitanyam will assist you, will provide you sufficient knowledge. Why? Because you being in the Chaitanyam alone, you are getting the inspiration to live and die. You are getting the inspiration to think and not to think, to function, not to function, to be spiritual, not to be spiritual, to be materialistic, not to be materialistic, is because you are living in the Chaitanya. Every inspiration in you, every knowledge in you, every action in you, every reaction in you, everything is initiated by this vibrations of this Chaitanyam where you are surviving. If the Chaitanyam is not there, your function will not be there at all. There are so many things which we just keep on doing it. See. We have not learnt it, but we keep on doing it. How did you know? Who taught you all that? How are you doing it? Why are you thinking like that? Why not the other way around? Thousands of questions come in us. They are all because the existence of that we are existing in the Chaitanya. When we are existing in the Chaitanya, looking at the objects, there are hundreds of objects and objectives living in the Chaitanya for various purposes, which is known as the Prakriti, which is projected from the Parabrahman. In that Prakriti, Maya, which is known as Maya, because why it is Maya? The Prakasham is Maya. What is the truth? Flame is the truth. Is why it is known as Maya, you see, because the Prakasham is existing only because the flame is there. If the flame is not there, Prakasham is not there. So Prakasham is totally dependent on the flame, but the flame is not dependent on the Prakasham. Prakasham is because of the flame. Flame is not because of the Prakasham. The Swabhava of the flame is to have the Prakasham, but the Swabhava of the Prakasham is not necessary to have the flame. Is it? So when this everything is in the Prakasham, the one who travels in that Prakasham, one who travels in that Brahma Jnana, Brahma Sakshatkar, or the Chaitanyam, through the Chaitanyam, he travels towards the flame or towards the Brahman, is known as the spiritual path. That is called the dharmic living. That everything that you do, wherever you are in the periphery of the flame, periphery of the Prakasham, periphery of the Prakasham, your motive, why you are born in that Prakasham is that in order to attain the Brahman. So the travel towards the Brahman from the Chaitanyam, through the Chaitanyam, whatever you do in between, through the Chaitanyam, your goal, your attention, your function, everything should be only to walk towards the Brahman, is called dharmic way of living. When this dharmam is not maintained, when you go away here and there in the Prakasham, even though you are in the periphery of the Parabrahman, you keep on playing around in that, is a dharmic way of living, is called a function external to you. This is why, which is known as external and internal. Why you are playing in that, even though it is in Parabrahma Chaitanyam, why you are playing around there, thinking that you never thought that you have to travel towards the Parabrahman. You are ignorant about it, that means you are in the dark about it. When you are ignorant about it, you try to go away from the Parabrahman, from the flame. Ultimately, you will end up in the darkness, and in the darkness further, then you will try to locate where is the brightness. Once you are in the dark, it is very difficult to find out the light. Yes, because you are in the darkness. In the darkness, you do not know how to travel towards the light. Even though you see the light, but it is difficult to travel towards the light. So there has to be a guide, there has to be a guidance in order to take you towards the light. Is why that when you are attached and attracted to the Prakriti or to the Maya, you keep committing the same mistakes, what we call it as mistakes. The mistakes means what? The mistakes are those that you do not attend to those paths, those ways and means, or you do not attend to that jnanam which provides you to travel towards the Parabrahman, and on the other hand, you attain the attachments and attraction. That's not known as the jnanam there. That is known as the attachment and attraction towards the Maya, Prakriti, where you play around like the insects playing around thinking that they are in the heaven. They play around and they die. Human also keeps on playing around and die in that Prakasham every time they are born. At no point of time they try to travel towards the Parabrahma or to the flame. Here, the walking on the path of that's the action. The action to be enthusiasm, and action has to be undertaken in the sense that action is that. What is that action? Action means that you do those dharmic karmas only meant for attaining the Parabrahman is called the action. Action is not that whatever I do, I shake my hand like this is an action. No, it's not that action. Taking an action by the Jivatma is to attain only the Paramatma. Nothing other than is known as action. That is why it is also known as that when you do attain, when you do attach yourself, and when you do attend yourself to the action of yours that releases the Papa karmas in you, is why it has been told. Why? Because when you are trying to attain, when you are walking towards the Parabrahman, when you are trying to attain, only you are walking through the dharmic way of living. So adharmic patha, even though you had acquired certain adharmic living earlier, during the process of walking through the dharmic patha afterwards, the adharmic patha, results of the adharmic patha get automatically released off is why we say that washing of the sins. We wash off the sins by praying, by doing this. We are telling so many things. So, that is why Bhagavan said here in the Upanishad said that Upasana and Nididhyasana is absolutely necessary in order to attain the Parabrahman. What is Upasana and Nididhyasana? Upasana and Nididhyasana is that traveling towards the Parabrahman with all the discipline is called Upasana and Nididhyasana in our language. So is why this Upasana and Nididhyasana is necessary. This you attain in Kali Yuga especially, only very few people get the opportunity, and it's a blessing. Jnanam doesn't come by learning. Jnanam comes only through blessings. And the blessing comes only through the action. Blessing comes through the action means what? Walking through the dharmic path, the dharmic way of living. When a person lives in the dharmic way of living, who walks in the path of the Upanishads and the Vedas, he identifies the Jnanam. When he identifies the Jnanam, he walks through the path of the Jnanam. Then when he walks through the path of the Jnanam, that path of Jnanam will lead him only to Parabrahman. There is no doubt about it. So what happens? He need not to aim to the Parabrahman. That is why they say that a Jnani doesn't say that I have to reach the God. A Jnani or a Tapasvi or an Upasak or a Nididhyasak, he just does it and he attains it. This is what is told in Upanishad. I think I might have myself told this number of times. Why? Because you don't have to. Because that path leads only there. You don't go anywhere else. So, if it falls, if you drop it like that, it will fall only here. It won't fall there. Something like that. So what happens when you do the action? Action in the sense, that which is generated from the karmas and with the intention through the upasana and through the nididhyasana, identifying the karma that is necessary to be done, controlling the indriyas and mana to that extent, avoiding the emotional status of that, executing that which resounds from the Antaratma, and executing that karma for the purpose of attainment of the Parabrahman alone is known as action. All other things are reactions. But what happens? In a Jivatma's life, certain amount of reactions have to be done. Why? Because they are traveling through the Prakriti. So in order to have the nature of the Prakriti, see, when you are swimming in the water, you have to get wet. Even though your intention is not to get wet, your intention to swim across. But during the process of swimming across, you get wet. So that getting wet, I call it as reaction. Let me put it that way. So when you are functioning, being in the Chaitanya, attaining the Parabrahman, you have to travel through the Chaitanyam. In this process of friction, traveling through the Chaitanyam, in this process of friction, certain amount of reactions will be there. It has to be there. But that reactions will be exclusively without trying to get attached to or attracted to it. That's all. Your attachment and attraction is only towards the action, but attachment and attraction not to the Prakriti, not to the Maya. When that happens, then only your detachment takes place. You are able to be with the Parabrahman. This detachment has to be taken. That's why it is known as detachment. I told you about Vairagya quite a number of times. Vairagya is not that it's leaving away everything. In Vairagya, everything is yours. That's Vairagya. Having accepted everything, but not wanting it, is called Vairagya. I don't need anything. I am living in the world, but nothing in the world that is there is necessary for me. It's called Vairagya. He knows that it is there. But in the process, what happens? In the process of living, he might eat, he might sleep, he might do anything. It doesn't mean that he is not a Vairagi. It's a Vairagi. A Vairagi, even though he is in the samskara of the Jivan, he need not to get attached and attracted to those actions that he is doing. When he is doing an action, he is a Karma Yogi. And a Karma Yogi has to be there as far as the Jivatma is concerned. He has to be a Karma Yogi. The karma has to be done. When he is doing a karma, he has attraction and attachment in a milder way. But he is a Vairagi. Why? Because he doesn't enjoy the results of the karma. So he is a Vairagi. Is why Vairagya. Vairagya is that you do not get attached to the results of the karma that you are executing. Why? Because. Why you should not enjoy? Why? Because I execute my karmas only for the purpose of attainment of the Parabrahman or to be reaching the Parabrahman, not getting attached to these pleasures of the karma phalas that is attached to me, and I get entangled because the moment I start enjoying the karma phala, in order to enjoy that you have to stop. You have to stop there. You keep on traveling. Now you are doing a karma. To enjoy the karma phala, you have to wait there. You have done a karma. The karma phala has to come and enjoy it. So you have to wait there. What happened? You are entangled into that position. That is one janma. Next janma, again you are born in the same place where you are waiting for the karma phala and enjoyment is being taken place. And that time is also taken, kala, samaya is taken. You are waiting for the karma phala. After doing the karma phala will come to you. Then you enjoy it. During the process of enjoying, you lose some more time. And in the process of enjoyment, you execute some more karmas because there are lots of attachment, attraction, and it is a multiplies thousands of them. Now you do not know. You got lost in this thousands of bifurcations. Where you got lost, you do not know. Now how to come back? You have to come back through that path alone. It's not that somehow from this molecule to another molecule you can jump off. No, it's not possible. How did you bifurcate yourself into these thousands? You have to come back in the same path to the reality. Something like that. This is why Upanishads are insisting, do not get attracted to those karma phalas. Is why the dharmic way of living is necessary. As I told you, this can be attained only by very few who are really blessed. So the karmas have to be very carefully executed. Is why these lessons have been taught to us. So in this tapasya or in this meditation, initial karmas that we do through the yajna, through the Rig Veda yajnas in the mornings, this is enjoyed by the Ashtavasus of us. Who are the Ashtavasus? You, inside you. Who are the Devatas? The qualities inside you, they are the Devatas. The Devatas do not eat and drink and enjoy because they do not have a digestive system. Drishtva triptayante, they say. By seeing it, tripti, they attain. Drishtva triptayante. By seeing it, they are happy. What is that seeing? Seeing in the sense, when the mind and the indriyas execute a particular karma without getting attached and attracted, and doing a karma, yajna is a sacrifice. Yajna is a vairagya, creating vairagya. That means giving away, sacrificing things. What is that? The mind is creating vairagya towards that. When that vairagya is created, the devatas inside, they look at it, drishtva, tripyante. They get happy by that. Looking at what? Looking at the mind and indriyas, renouncing everything and coming towards them. Who are them? The devatas inside you. The devatas inside you are happy by looking at them. Is why we said that the bhoga of the result of the yajna, you must have known that, the result of the yajna is given to the devatas. What does it mean? The devatas are those, the virtues, the gunas in you. That means the sato gunas in you. That is the hierarchy that which takes you towards the Parabrahman. That's a path towards the Parabrahman. By doing yajna, why you are doing yajna? In order to attain the Parabrahman. That's all. It's a Brahma Sakshat, not for attaining the wealth. It is for Brahma Sakshatkaram. It's the yajna is being done. So, when the yajna is done, the yajna bhala is enjoyed only by the devatas. So normally we say, we are pleasing the devatas by doing the yajna. Is that what is in Puranas? You must have read that. No. We have to do the yajna so that Indra will be pleased. Devatas will be pleased. What do you mean by devatas will be pleased? Devata is not somebody who is sitting in the sky. Who will be pleased by the yajna? The yajna that you do will get a result, and that result will be enjoyed by the devata in you. There is no devata sitting somewhere else in order to enjoy that karma phala. No. That renunciation that you are doing. So when you do the renunciation, you are in the path of upasana and nididhyasana. In the status of upasana, what is upasana? I told you in the beginning itself, that it is a total surrender, samarpana bhava. When the yajna being done is that total samarpana bhava, I do not want anything. What I want is that me, I, me, by me. That's all. The me in reality is none other than the Parabrahman. The me in reality is that Brahman. So these are all attached to me. All these are attachment to me. These are all because of the karma phalas of me. I am looking different. So when I renounce all that what is not me, then the me of the Parabrahman appears. This is called the Devata. Whatever is not necessary for me, or they are all attached to me. After being born, they are all came and attracted and attached to me because of my attraction. I get attracted to it. So what happened? They come and attach to me. So this attachment, which is known as the attachment, has to be renounced. Is why the yajna being done, so that the burning of everything is being done. So when the yajna is done, everything is given to the Agni, they said. The Agni's swabhava is that to burn it and destroy it. This has to be understood, and this comes only by blessing. Even though one is a jnani, one attained the Parabrahma jnanam, one has got the Parabrahma Sakshatkaram, at one point of time where we reach the absolute saturation point, then the Parabrahman, that which is the absolute truth, will absorb you into the absolute truth. To do that, it is very difficult. Even though you might attain the Brahmajnanam, you might attain this, that's what is called the Sannyasa Upanishad explains about that. That ultimate, how you merge with the Parabrahman. Which are those things? How you get into it. So this has to be done. So what I am trying to tell you is that these methods, why so much of trouble is being taken by the Maharishis and Tapasvis to inscribe this in these documents so that we can learn it, so that we can attain towards the path of the Parabrahman, so that at least we are sure that look, the life what we are leading is not the way that it has to be led. At least that much one will come to know. Then what is the life to be done? It has to be done like this. When it is done like this, you are in a position to attain that. When you attain that, only you have got the absolute liberation from this. It's called liberation. So for that is what is known as the action. This is why I told all these things. This action has to be done. Absolutes, what do you call it as? Hindi, Sayyam they call it. Absolute being, composing yourself within you, where you do not get agitated by any of those. Many people do not get the opportunity. They travel half the way and they lose. Why they lose? Not because they want to lose it, but they lose. Why they lost? Karma phala. Got entangled into the Maya only, got entangled into the periphery of it, in the Chaitanyam only, but not trying to travel towards the Parabrahma or towards the flame. The living is only entangled there. Why? Because of the karma phalas. Now this has to be renounced. True upasana, that's why a true upasana, a true nididhyasana, true upasana is required. Otherwise what happens? A break, you will not be able to do it. Something will happen, will not take you there. That is why we say that all this blessing is necessary. That is why we have to. Blessing comes only when we walk on the dharmic path. Blessing comes only when we have got the upasana. Blessing comes only when we have got the nididhyasana. It is unavoidable. Blessing will come to you. It is not that it is asked for. Even if you ask for it, you will not get it. Blessing is not asked. Blessing is not given just like that. Blessing will come to you only when you are eligible to it. We have got lots of examples. I have told this in the Ram Gita, must have told. I have and Yoga Vasishta, I might have explained about this. Maharishi Gautama, when he cursed Ahalya. I told you it's not a curse. It was not a curse. It was a blessing again. Blessing to Ahalya to purify her mind in order to attain the Parabrahman. Is why externally, I think I have explained it in very detail that being the stone is not virtually becoming a rock or a stone and lying down on the corner of it, and Ram comes and puts his feet on the stone. Even though this is the story explained so that normal people can understand it better, but when you go into Vedantic way of explanation, the right way of explanation, what is that? Maharishi found that she is not absolutely fit enough to be the wife of the Maharishi, Tapasvi, because Tapasvi is a great soul. Tapasvi is equivalent to God. Now, like Bhagwan Shiv says, Sati is not fit enough to be my wife. She has to release her Sharira. She has to renounce her Sharira. She has to renounce, that's why Dakshaputri, to renounce her Sharira, renounce her Mana, renounce her human actions, emotions and other things. When she becomes that, then only she will be eligible to be my Vamapaksha, is it. Same way, Rishi Gautama says that Ahalya is incompetent to be the Rishi Patni. Why? Because Rishi has attained the absolute purity, absolute Parabrahmajnanam, Parabrahma Sakshatkaram. He is in that status. So in order to make Ahalya to be in that level, is called what is called a curse. The other incidents, what they are explaining about all these things, that her thoughts in the mind are impure, is what it is explaining. Indra comes in the form of the Muni at the early morning, 12 o'clock in the night or 2 in the night, and things like that has been written in the Puranas. by mistake. How can there be a mistake to a Maharshi who is such a tapasvi? No, there can be questions like that. Such a tapasvi, such a great Maharshi, did he misunderstood 2 o'clock as 4 in the morning? Is it possible? It is impossible. For a tapasvi, it is impossible. It's not. When we know that. But then why these have been explained is that what is based on only indicating the impurities, the impurities in the sense, not a pure mind of the Ahalya. Impurities in the sense is not impure, means not bad. Impurities here in this case, as far as the Rishi Gautama and Ahalya is concerned, Ahalya's mind has been not purified and reached the level of the Parabrahma Sakshatkara. She still has a different state. So Maharshi gives a direction that she has to be an upasak, she has to be a nididhyasak in order to attain the Parabrahman. For that what happened? So many years of like a rock. What is that rock? Rock who doesn't have emotions. Is that what is the reason? That's why it has been told as rock. Where the mind and indriyas do not function, only your Atma functions. Chant only Ishvara Nama during that process. In the sense, your attention should be only in the Upasana and the Nididhyasana of the Parabrahman. Why? Because in the Chaitanya, when you are traveling, your attention has gone to the Chaitanya around you, which is not purified. You are not competent enough to be traveling along with me. Maharshi said, you are not competent to travel with me. In order to make yourself competent to travel with me, either you independently travel, or if you want to be with me, you have to become like this. Your tapasya will attain results at one point of time. Is that you will attain the Parabrahman? Is what Ram comes and puts his feet in the. What does it mean? Ahalya attaining the Parabrahman. That's all. The other things are story. Ahalya attained the Parabrahman. When there is another that I am just deviating from this to make you understand, in fact, the truth of how traveling through from the Chaitanyam to Parabrahman should be done. Why the Nididhyasana Upasana is necessary. Like Ahalya doing the Upasana and Nididhyasana, separating from the Maharishi, separating from the universe, separating from herself, she becomes a rock. She becomes a stone. She becomes a rock. Waiting for Ram to come and put his feet on. That means what? Waiting for the Parabrahma Sakshatkara. Nothing other than that. And a rock means doing tapasya. And in a rock what happens? Whatever you do, there cannot be any impurities penetrating into it. Like a rock. That's it. It's not a rock. It's like a rock. Where the mind and indriyas will not function at all. They become absolutely idle, silent, and only Parabrahman functions there, Atma functions there. She does the tapasya for a number of years. When the tapasya is done, Parabrahman automatically comes. After the Parabrahman has come, you see these are the principles. After the Parabrahman has come, when Ram came, now let me tell the story a little bit. When Ram came, put his feet, Ahalya got her original Akara, Rupa, is that what it says? So Bhagavan said, what do you want now? What are you supposed to do now? So Ahalya said, I would like to be with Maharishi Gautama, who said I should become competent. So Bhagavan says, Tathastu, and she goes and merges with the Maharishi. Now, what is that again? Why she has not told that I will merge with the Bhagavan himself? She said, let me be with my Maharishi, Tapasvi, my husband. Okay, here. In this case, the principle being nothing other than that. Why? Because The attainment of the Parabrahma Sakshatkaram, even though has been done, the Upasana and Nididhyasana has to be done to the Guru. Who is the Guru here? Maharishi Gautama. Because he is the one who guided you towards doing this tapasya. Because of your tapasya and because of your guidance, because of Guru's guidance, the disciple has got the Parabrahma Sakshatkaram, is the gist of it. Parabrahma Sakshatkaram. Having got the Parabrahma Sakshatkaram, now she is eligible to become, she has become purified. Her mind is purified, her system is purified, Atma is purified. That purified Atma has to do Upasana and Nididhyasana to the Guru, and through him she has to attain the Brahman, not Parabrahma Sakshatkaram. Parabrahma Sakshatkaram is that Anubhava of the Jnanam is called Parabrahma Sakshatkaram. Suppose everything on the Vedas and Upanishads I know, I have understood, I have Parabrahma Sakshatkaram of the Jnanam of the Ishwaratva. I have not attained the Ishwaratva. I have got the Sakshatkaram of the Ishwaratva. Sakshatkaram has been received. After having received the Sakshatkaram, I will have to do the Upasana and Nididhyasana and attain and dilute myself. This is what Vairagya said there. Dilute myself into the Brahman. There should be nothing. There should be no action. When there is no action relevant remaining with the Jivatma, he is known as the Paramatma. When there is no action left out. Karma should not be there. Karma Mukti, that's why it is known as Karma Mukti. This attainment has to be there, is called the action. We have to have, that is why Bhagavan had said that who do not undertake action, who do not take this type of action. Ahalya took the action, Ahalya got the moksha mukti. From the Ahalya status, she got the moksha to the same status of Maharishi Gautama. Yes. And that tapobhala of the Maharishi and tapobhala of hers put together, she attains the Parabrahman and dilutes into Parabrahman. Just traveling towards the Parabrahman, identifying the Parabrahman, traveling towards the Parabrahman, having known this is the only true path and this is the only way and I accept it and I walk it and I do not commit any mistake, is called Sakshatkaram. Being with the Parabrahman is called the Layam. That's why Sannyasa Yoga. For that sannyasa has to be taken. You have to be a sannyasi. Then only the layam can take place. That sannyasa has to be taken. Then the layam takes place. So action, so why I am saying all these things? One should understand really that in order to walk the spiritual path, it is not difficult, but it needs determination. It needs right guidance, right direction, and should understand why it is being done. And that is the only truth. Other things that whatever we do, we are only doing it for survival, going around the Prakasham and dying there, that's all. It has no meaning, has to be very clearly understood. There is no doubt about it. So it has to take this direction at one point of time. Whichever Janma you will be born in the same spot where you died. Same position where you died. So this has to be understood clearly. And then walk towards it. So that is why very few people only will travel towards the end. It's very difficult. Difficult in the sense, not that difficulty as we talk in the materialistic way of living. Difficult in the sense, to be firm walking through that path without deviation. Having the mind and indriyas, this gets attracted. Thinking that this is much more pleasant, that is much more pleasant. Whereas the whole creation of the pleasure is there only. That's the abundance of the pleasure which is there. Where we are traveling towards the abundance of it, but one doesn't recognize why. Because Jnanam is not there. Sakshatkaram has not come. Ahalya did not get the Sakshatkaram. His wife, she was not purified. When the Sakshatkaram has come, she said, I do not want anything. I just want to be with Maharishi. Why? Sakshatkaram. Layam has to take place, and layam can be taken place only through Upasana and Nididhyasana. Upasana and Nididhyasana has to be absolutely taken care. Is what is called undertake the action. The persons who do not undertake such actions cannot attain the Parabrahma Sakshatkaram. If you do not get the Sakshatkaram, layam is out of question. Recycling takes place, that's all. Once layam is done, then recycling question doesn't come. You see, recycling question comes only when the layam is not taking place. That's why rebirth we call it. Keeping again and again. Once it is not there, layam has taken place, there is no rebirth. It's called the who do not undertake action. So we have to undertake action. That's all. Is what Maharshi here in one word he said. That those who do not take action and are lazy. Here, laziness is that the one who doesn't initiate. One is that not taking action. The one who is jnani, who doesn't do the action. Another part is that the one who is lazy, who doesn't even try to know about it. Even though the knowledge is around, who doesn't want to get into it, who is ignoring the knowledge. It's called lazy. Laziness is that the one who is reluctant to do that. Why is he reluctant to do it? He enjoys something else and he is fearful that if I take up something else, I lose this enjoyment. Is the one who is known as lazy, is it not? Somebody who is sleeping, he is being asked to do some work. He doesn't want to do the work, he is only sleeping. Why? Because he is scared of losing his happiness of sleeping. It's called laziness, you see. So when we are living in the materialistic world, we are scared of losing the happiness in the materialistic world to travel towards the spiritual world is called the laziness. It's called laziness. Because I enjoy the pleasures here according to my environments, like the insects traveling in the, playing around in the light, that's all. What it does when we look at it, what are they doing? Just flying here and there, here and there. Same thing God must be telling about the human beings. What are these people doing? I gave them prakasham not to go like this, like this, like this. When we are telling that insects are doing like this, we are being talked about that by somebody else who is known better and who knows better. What are these people doing? Ready? No purpose, just going around, living, eating, procreating, dying. This is what human beings doing. The Devtas in us, or the Ishwaratva, they must be doing that. Same thing happens. So, a direction. Laziness is that the one who doesn't want to take a step from my limited environments created by me. That is my world, I have decided. So everyone in Jivatma, in the Prakasham, has created his own world around that, thinking that it is his own world. So what happens? He moves in that periphery only, like the insect moving only in that circle. The insect will go from the tube light from this end to this end of the tube light. That's all. Again, when he reaches here, he will go back there only. Nowhere else. He will not fly anywhere else. Same thing happens with the human being. He has created limitations around him. He will walk only in that. Other than that, everything is taboo for him. Laziness. That is called the laziness. The one who understands that there are jnanis, there are noble men, noble things, noble literature, and Upanishads are there, Vedas are there, right way of living is there, dharmic way of living is there. We go through the jnanam and live in the way, not looking for the enjoyment of the sharirik, manasik and the aindrik pleasures. Leaving all those things, do for the jnana. Emotions are attractive. Even till our death, what happens? We are entangled with our own emotions. Our reactions are all the same from the day one. You look at many people from the day of birth or from so many years, the same type of expression, same type of anger, same type of criticism, same type of jealousy, same type of hatred, same repeated. There's never no change at all. It's absolutely repetition of the same page of life. What have you done then? It's called laziness actually. That you have not been trying to put your step, leaving this and going to that. You have been acting the same way since so many years, from the day of birth till the death. What difference have you brought in you? Which emotion have you controlled? Which path have you renounced? Where is your vairagya? Even one small vairagya we could not do. How can one walk in the spiritual path? How can, just by chanting some names of Ram, Krishna, Shiva, and lighting a lamp and agarbatti, if you expect that you should attain the Parabrahma Sakshatkaram, it will be absolutely foolish. Let us not do that. It's only your satisfaction of the guilt that we have done that. For that, jnanam has to be observed. And in the inner self of us, we have to have tremendous transformations in us. We cannot be controlled by our emotions. We cannot be controlled by our indriyas and the mana. We have to go above that. We have to travel beyond that. And we have to travel towards that Parabrahman, who is the only Satyam, who is the only truth. That opportunity, very few gets, very few. So Bhagavan said, who do not undertake action, who are lazy. I have clarified these two. For these people who are these, they do not attain me. They think what they think, for it is not seen in the world of enjoyment is available for those who are. The world of enjoyment is not available for those who lack enthusiasm. For the people who lack this enthusiasm, they lose the world of enjoyment. He says, which is the world of enjoyment? According to Upanishad, Brahmanandam, Anandam, Paramanandam, Brahmanandam is called the world of enjoyment. Not the world of enjoyment is, what is that? That fancy parks, what do we call it?
Amusement. Disney World.
No. Some Disneyland or whatever land it is. Not the world of enjoyment of that. World of enjoyment is, yeah, we all have, we are all living only in Disneyland only. Each and every human being in the world. They are all in one Disneyland or the other Disneyland, that's all. No. That's all. What he says is that the world of enjoyment is there where the Anandam, the Brahmanandam is there. Where there is permanency of the Anandam. There is no question of that you've been in the status of enjoyment and others, immediately after that you have come to some status of sorrow. No, that's not it. The world of enjoyment, that world is only enjoyment. There is nothing other than that, which is known as the Brahmanandam. Attaining that Ananda status, Satya Chitta Ananda. That status of the Ananda. Ananda is that when we being with the Parabrahman, there is nothing other than Ananda. That Ananda. These small actions and reactions and other things, they all has to happen, they have to happen, let it happen. They are all based on the karmas and karma palas enjoyment. So people who realize them, who lack enthusiasm to identify these facts, this truth, the truth of the Parabrahman existence, they miss the world of enjoyment. They will get entangled only in that cycle of birth and death and kashta and dukkha, creating their own limitations around them. Every time they walk, they create a limitation, and they walk only in that limitation. Go beyond limitations. Don't create your own limitations, is what Bhagavan says. So, he says in the next sloka, sloka number 363. 363 he says, Saya Saya Etadevam Amrutam Vedam Vasunam Evaiko Bhutva Mukhe Naitadekhamrutam Drishtva Trippayanti Sa Etadeva Rupam Abhisamvishantatyeta Tasmat Rupa Tudeti Sa eva etadevam amrutam veda. The one who knows that this is the amrutam, this is the nectar in my life. What? That what I have explained you now. That what I have explained you now and before in the previous class. Sa eva etadevam amrutam veda. That this Veda, that knowledge of the Veda, knowledge of this Tattva, knowledge of this principle, knowledge that what I have explained you now is if one who knows this as Eda Deva Amrutam, this is what is called the Amrutam, which is nectar in my life, becomes Veda Deva Amrutam Vasunam Evaiko. We are talking about the Vasus now, Ashtavasus, because in the initial karmas that what we are doing, we are submitting to Ashtavasus. Ashtavasus are enjoying it, we said. So, Vasunam Evaiko, he becomes one. Eva, Evaiko means Eva Eko. Eva Eko becomes one with him. Eva Eko. Evaiko. Vasunam Evaiko. One with the Vasus, one becomes one with the Vasus. The one who knows this principle, what happens? As I told you, this is why I said about the Ahalya. Ahalya will become Laya with the Maharishi. Is why I said that I want to go there. So, why you have to do all these things? To have Vasunam Evaiko, Laya with the Vasus, one who becomes the Vasu. He is no more the one who is doing the oblations. He is not the one who is doing the yajna. He becomes the enjoyer of the yajna. Who does this and who experiences and who understands it, who learns it, who knows it. After doing things, when he knows this, he becomes one with the Vasus. You, the Devata in you, you become the Devata. Ultimately what happens? You become the enjoyer of the yajna. The enjoyer of the renunciation. After renunciation, you renounce everything that has been attached to you. Your mind and indriyas will function for the detachment. Who created the attachment, they will work function for the detachment. Is called doing the yajna. After doing the yajna, Evaiko, you become that Devata without the mind and the indriyas. When you become one with the without the mind and indriyas, you become the enjoyer of that. What? The yajna that you have done, the vairagya that you have done, that renunciation that you have done, the samarpana you have done in the yajna, you did it for the devatas to enjoy it. So while you are doing it, so who is the doer? Doer is your mind and the indriya, who has got attraction and attachment and desires. Who does the renunciation? Because he is the one who has got the attachment. Who has got the attachment? The ego has got the attachment. The ego center has got the attachment. The ego has got the attachment. My ahankara has got the attachment. So I went in the process of the renunciation. What I did? I renounced my ahankara. I renounced my aham into the Agni through the function of the mana and indriyas. After understanding making the mind and Indriyas understanding that this is necessary to be renounced. So the renunciation takes place. Action of the renunciation taken place does by the mind and Indriyas, so that the aham in me, ahankara in the ego center is released there. Once that is released, while doing it, we have done it with the intention, sankalpa of the devatas to enjoy it. After doing it, since having done that, I have renounced even mind and Indriyas in that. So the enjoyer, who is enjoyer then? I am the enjoyer. I become the enjoyer is why what he said. Who is that? I become the devata enjoyer. Because I have travelled to the world of enjoyment. I am no more there. Not by enjoying the ghee as it is, ghritam as it is, dutam as it is, dhritam as it is, or the madhu as it is, jalam as it is. But what happened? I have enjoying the, after burning all those things, because only Sharira and Mana can enjoy all these things, after renouncing the gunas of that, I enjoy the drishtva triptayante, by seeing seeing the renunciation that my parts, who are me, my parts, who is known as the Mana and Indriyas, renounce everything, drishtva triptayante, I became happy. When I became happy, I have renounced everything. When I am released with all these things, at the end of the yajna, when everything has been renounced, my mind and Indriyas and the ahankara has been renounced, etadeva vasura evaiko, I have become the devata. When I have become the devata, that which has been renounced by me, I became in the world of enjoyment. I received the part of that, not by consuming it. Drishtva tripti. The tripti or the enjoyment is the tripti. Enjoyment is tripti. The tripti is there in here in drishtva tripti and vasunam evaika. These two, when you put together, you realize that the devata in me, the Ishwaratva in me becomes in the world of happiness only by renunciation. Is it one? Drishtva triptayante vasunam evaiko. When you put together, by way of renunciation, I became happy. Who became happy? Vasunam became happy. So by renunciation, I became happy. Ultimately what becomes? I become happy. Happy in the sense, I am in the world of happiness, where the Brahmanandam is there. Why am I in the happiness? Because I have nothing to renounce. Is why I am happy. The more I have something with me to renounce, I am unhappy because I have to take care of it. The day I don't have anything to renounce, I am happy. Why? There is a small proverb in Hindi. This great meaning is explained, but we never understood all. घोड़े बेच के सोना. Am I right or wrong? Eh? So long he has ghoda, he cannot sleep because somebody will steal it. The day he sold it, he slept very well. See, exactly, more or less. See, the replica. I mean, it is the way of representation in the normal life has been the घोड़े बेच के सोना. So long you have got something, you have to be scared. So long you have got something to be renounced, you are not able to attain the Parabrahman. The day you are renounced everything, you are in the world of enjoyment of the universe. That's called the Brahmanandam. Exactly same. Can you relate it? This is what I remember. Suddenly I remember about it. This proverb. This is exactly what it is. The day I release everything, I am happy. So long the entanglement is there, I have to carry that burden, Keep on carrying it. That's all. So Bhagavan says, Vasunam evaikaha, the one who does like that, enjoyment comes. He becomes one of the Ashtavasus. Bhutvam agnineva mukhena deva amritam drishtva tripyanti sa etadevaha. So you Vasus themselves and becomes contented by seeing, drishtva tripyanti, by seeing the very nectar through the fire itself, which is the chief. He retires into this. Now this is another beautiful thing. Not that he remains. What happens? There are stages, you see. There are stages. One is that the mind and the indriyas, who are the one who has got the nature of the possessing nature, possessiveness in them. Mind who is an ahankari to hold it on and enjoy that, but unable to enjoy it, only suffering, struggling to do that. But then when a path has been shown, the laziness has gone, he started doing action, started working on the dharmic patha, second stage. He realized that this is not necessary. So what happened? The mana and indriya starts renouncing them through the upasana. When the ahankara has been renounced, the second stage that he has become the ashtavasu. He has drishtva tripyanti, he has seen that it is being renounced. So third stage is that become happy. After becoming happy, what happened next? Next he says drishtva tripyanti sa etadeva रूपम अभिसंविशत्ये तस्माद् रूपा दुतेति. What happened? This rupam of his, that is with the appearance of his, you see, he retires his own appearance into that which is there. Layam has taken. What happened? Layam has taken place. So initially there was renouncer. Then there was ahankara renounced. Then there was enjoyer. Then there was one who is witnessing the enjoyment. After the witnessing the enjoyment, what happened? Everything is over. So he renounced his own rupa. That enjoyment can happen only when there is a rupa is there or something is there. So what happened? Even that, he renounced it. When he renounced it, so he says that rupam api samvishati tasmat rupa trudeti. The rupa which was there, which was not there, or the rupa which is there, that the rupa which is there has been surrendered, again oblated to the rupa which is not there. In the sense where the rupa is not at all there, where there is no akaratvam is there. This akara has been merged into nirakaratvam is the meaning of it. So he becomes like that. We have to be like that. This is what says, that the very appearance, he retires into this very appearance. Then what happens after that? Tasmat rupa dudedi. He rises up from this appearance. He rises up from the appearance. From where? From the Ashtavasus. Where he has joined now? Ashtavasus. But after the renunciation is over, his rupam has been merged in the Ashtavasus. From the Ashtavasus now, he rises above, he says. Where does he rise above? Is what the next shloka comes. Now comes the Rudra. He rises up to Rudra. From that, he rises up to the Rudra. Next stage. Second stage of nectar comes on that. Got it? How beautifully that this has been explained so that we understand it, normal human beings. Karmas are there, functions are there, everything is there. Our path of walking, it's a blessing. Everybody doesn't, I repeat that, everybody won't get it. Even if they get a chance, they will miss it. Blessing has to be there, God's blessing has to be there. When we walk on the Dharmapatha, when we really have the upasana and the didhyasana, path of upasana and didhyasana, then only one can attain. Otherwise what happens? Any amount of listening, any amount of walking through the knowledge, any amount of swimming in the sea, one cannot cross the sea. It's not possible. It can only come back like that. Crossing the sea is not possible. You can cross a river, you can cross a tank, you can cross anything like that. But crossing the sea is not possible. You will think that you are trying to cross, but you will keep on swimming and you will die in between. That's all. Again you are taking birth in order to swim. That's all. Whereas what happens in this case, when I do renunciation, when the renunciation is done, even though I do the swimming, what happens? During the process of renunciation, I renounce everything into the sea. At a point of time, I become the sea. When I become the sea, I will rise above the sea and cross the sea. Is how this has to be taken. With examples like that. Otherwise, we get entangled only in the swimming, that's all. Nothing other than that. So this requires the blessings. This requires our dharmic path of living. This requires our upasana and nididhyasana. I repeat this because this has to be embedded in the mind. Upasana and nididhyasana. Upasana is samarpanam. Any number of jivas you take, any number of lives you take, any number of births you take, any number of janmas you take, you have to do it. At one janma or other, then only you can attain this. Otherwise, till then you will keep on taking janma. Is the truth. That's all. Yes. One has to become a halya. There has to be a way. One has to gradually release it. And as I told you, look at yourself. Had been behaving last 40 years, 30 years, 50 years in the same manner that you could not even control one of your small emotions. What transformation you will bring to yourself in order to attain the Parabrahman? There has to be a change, there has to be a transformation. There has to be a difference, is it not? Towards the path of that. Where is the surrender? Where is the samarpana bhava? I have same characteristics, same habits, same things, same thoughts, same functions every day. Ditto, like a tape recorder plays. Morning till evening, same rituals, same talks, same way of thinking, same way of nididhyasana, upasana, nididhyasana. Limitations. I must cross the limitations, go into beyond the limitations. I must be above. See, small things should not be. You're getting me into that limitation of those small things. So Bhagavan said that he rises up from this appearance, he also perceives. So he says that by virtue of having become one of them, the contentment by merely seeing, becoming enthusiastic when the occasion for this enjoyment arises, the retirement to appearance, for the expiry of that time, he also perceives everything in the very way like the Vasus is. Why? The layam takes place. I told you, layam or renunciation is that not losing everything, perceiving everything. Having perceived everything, he became the Ashtavasu. Having perceived everything, he rises above the Ashtavasus. That's exactly what I say. When I perceive these things, when I renounce all these things, I perceive something higher. Then the appearance and reappearance means where that perception of these things, he also. So Bhagavan says that after the expiry of that time, he also perceives everything in the very way like the Vasus. Next shloka is the last shloka of that we'll take in the next class. It's a small one, then we'll go to chapter 7. Next will be 6. Right, it's written as 364. We'll take 364 next. Om Shanti Shabbat.